What's up, my hunting brothers and sisters? Today we are taking a look at a new camera arm made by Jeremy Riggins Outdoors, JR Outdoors. We are going to see if this thing's any good because it sure does look pretty nice. So stay tuned. Check out this gizmo. If you're into filming hunts like I am, you know that one of the necessary evils when it comes to filming a hunt, especially of a tree stand, is a camera arm. There's been several of them designed by many different companies over the years. They all have their merits and they all have their flaws as well. Again, I always refer to camera arms as this necessary evil. It's like I have this love-hate relationship with them. I do like certain aspects of some, but it just seems like so many are so frustrating. It's just, I think, inherent into the size and what they are. But this is an interesting new camera arm that was sent to me. This is made by Jeremy Riggins Outdoors. You can check him out on Facebook. He's got a YouTube channel, and he makes this camera arm himself. For self-filmers, or if you want to film your buddy or whatever. It's a very lightweight camera arm. And he and I were talking on a recent podcast, and I was inquiring about his arm, and he said, well, sure, I'll send you one, and you can take a look at it. So I did not pay for this arm. I'm not going to keep this arm. I may buy one from him. I did not put it on a tree yet, but I'm actually very intrigued by this arm. So he just sent this over, told me, hey, do a review, and I told him, well, I'll give him my thoughts on it. So it's a very interesting arm. It's similar to other arms that we've kind of seen in the past. Many years ago, original Lone Wolf, I'm going back to like 2006, 7. They had a camera arm that was kind of a similar design. As I recall, I think the adjustment screw was on the bottom. I think it was all flip-flopped. It's a pretty decent arm for a lightweight camera. I know there's others now that have arms similar to this. But in talking with Jeremy, this is all machined out of aluminum stock. It's a 3-piece arm, and you can see that it folds up fairly compact here. And, it's got the aluminum base that would go up against a tree, and we're going to throw this on a tree here in just a bit. One of the cool features about his arm, he's got a 3D printed standoff here and spring-loaded, so it turns sideways so that you can pack this arm up. And actually, when you look at this arm, well, you could slide that right down into like the water bladder area of a backpack or in the back of your pack, probably go down the side of your pack. It's very compact and very slim. I believe the overall footprint, according to my notes here, is it's a roughly 14 inches vertical. Well, I guess it'd be 14 inches horizontal. I'm thinking packing it. 14 inches by about 6.5 inches. And looking at this thing, I mean, it's not much over a 1/2 inch thick, the knob being the widest part, which would be obviously probably, I'd guess, 1.25 inches just looking at it. But very interesting camera arm. You would put this against the base of the tree. You've got a strap that comes with it. Basically, your buckle strap. He's got these nice sewn ends on it. And throw it around what we call the Versa button here. It's a generic term that, we've come out of the tree stands and climbing stick industry, and it's also used on this type of tree arm. And then you're going to tighten down this knob and get your tension and get your leveling set. Cool feature he does have on here is he's got a leveling bubble up here on the top, so you can actually see how level you are. That's pretty neat. He sends a 3D printed hook along. I asked him about this, and he said his intent with this was to supply a hook that you could actually put on the strap when you're tightening it up. He said he's kind of got mixed feelings about it. He said sometimes it's kind of cumbersome getting it where you want, but he still throws it in and guys can use it. You could use this on a variety of different straps if you're saddle hunting or whatever. So nice little bonus feature that he throws in here. So who is this arm made for? Right now, my gut tells me it's made for those who run kind of lighter weight cameras. I'm going to talk like in terms of current handy cams, like the Sony, like A33 or AX33s, the AX53s, 43s, probably an AX100. maybe your lighter weight mirrorless cameras like your Sony ZV-1s. You could probably do like a Sony A6600 with a moderate lens on it, I'm guessing, with this. Obviously, you could also, use this to support your cell phone. So, I don't really run lightweight cameras these days. I run big camera equipment. I mean, this is my Sony A7S III with a 70 to 180 lens on it, fairly stout camera. And I think it's probably going to be a little too much for this arm, but I'm going to check it out. And I'm not going to fault this arm for not being able to support this. This is a much heavier camera system. This is an old Canon HV30 or 40, I believe. It's a tape-based camera that I started filming on many years ago, and this would be equivalent to what a lot of you guys out there filming with, as far as weight and size goes, with, say, a Sony XA33 or XA53 in that type of ballpark. So this would be a good camera, I think, to throw on this arm and see, just see what kind of balance, how well it supports all that. So we'll do that out in the field. He does give you a couple choices of mounting options here. There's a 3/8 stud and a 1/4 inch stud, and you remove whichever one you don't want for your fluid head. On an arm like this, I probably wouldn't go with too big of a fluid head. For example, I've become a big fan of these Ulanzis, U-190s, I believe it is. These are about $50, and this is an excellent little fluid head, and I actually use this on my bigger camera, and I'll show you here in just a second a setup I've got with it. So I think like this fluid head right here, Small Rig's got one that's a very similar size. Manfrotto B-Free head, those types of heads I think would serve really well on this type of arm. And these have the 3/8, at least this one, it's got a 3/8 female on it, so I'd take the 1/4 out and thread this on. So I think that this would be a good option to marry to this, and I think when we go out in the field, that's what we're going to do here. So how does this thing stack up, and where does it compare against, say, maybe a couple other popular arms, just as a reference? And I'm not doing this as this is better than that arm. It's just for a reference. Well, when it comes to weight, I'm weighed the arm itself, the arm and base itself, and look at my notes here. It weighed in right at 1 pound 14 ounces, which I think is what Jeremy advertises it at. And when you throw in the strap and cam buckle, the total weight goes up to 2 pounds and 3 ounces. So 2 pounds 3 ounces in this package is very impressive. For comparison reasons only, I'm going to show you what I've been hunting with for the last several years, and this is very popular. This is Fourth Arrow. This is their 3.0 base system. Just have my strap all wound up around it. This is their micro triple arm, and also the Ulanzi fluid head that I just showed you, another one I've got. And if I take this fluid head off, just for weight comparisons, this arm, the strap, buckle system, and all that from Fourth Arrow, again, this is the micro setup with the 3.0 base, weighs in at 4 pounds 8 ounces. So this setup right here is 2 pounds 5 ounces, roughly, give or take, more than this setup, which actually, that means that this setup here weighs half or less than half what this does. And this is a very robust setup. It holds my larger cameras well. This camera here, again, I'm not saying that this is a better setup than this. There's just different markets for different arms, but this gives everybody kind of a baseline that many people can compare to. By also another comparison, here's a little larger example. This is a Fourth Arrow conventional triple arm. Now this has got a much larger fluid head on it. I took it off for weighing purposes. This is an old Manfrotto 701. But this and this base and strap setup weighs in at 5 pounds 8 ounces. So even more significantly. So this is obviously going to hold a very robust camera, where this is meant for your much lighter weight gears, the guys who want to pack less, go saddle hunting. Again, I think, man, this thing right here would pair up nicely with like a Sony ZV-1 camera. I believe, seriously, I ran an A6500 by Sony with their 18 to 105 lens for years. So I know what that type of camera weighs and how how well it performs. I think if you had like a Sony A6600 with that 18-105 lens, it's kind of a, I call it crescent wrench type of setup. This would probably be a really, really good arm for that setup. So beyond that, let's see. Oh, let's talk about reach. So the overall reach on this setup here, I measured basically from out here at the points. I just took a tape measure and did kind of a quick measurement out here to the end. And this is roughly 30 inches of reach, which is pretty good. Which by comparison, if you go to my Fourth Arrow 3.0 base and their micro triple arm, if you did the same thing out to here, you're talking roughly 28 inches. So you get a couple more inches out of this and a lighter weight. Pretty darn good. You know, now conversely, it's a different league altogether when you start going to the large triple arm and back to that 3.0 base. Then you're getting out to that 38-inch range overall reach. I mean, this is a very long setup here. You know, plus you throw the base on there, you're talking 38 inches. So, but this is a different animal. And again, I'm only throwing it out there for a visual comparison for those of you who are familiar with different products that are out there. So what this really impresses me with the reach you're getting and the package you're getting and how little it weighs. So it begs the question then, okay, how much does this setup cost? I mean, you know, cost is always a factor beyond, sometimes more so a factor beyond performance. And according to his Facebook page, he sells this for $200 with free shipping to the, I believe, lower 48 at least. So anyways, pretty darn good deal when you start looking at it, when you start comparing what other manufacturers, again, I'm very familiar with Fourth Arrow, so what they cost, but I know, you know, there's a lot of others out there. I think when you get in that $200 or less range, right there, man, you're in a good price point for a product like this. So yeah, overall, I'm really impressed. The machining work is nice on this. The 3D printing is nice. He's got his logo printed on it. This anodized, actually it's not anodized, it's just a matte painted, some sort of coating finish on it. Very nice. All of the bolts have got nylon washers and you can snug them down. So if you want a little more tension to keep things from moving, I don't know, looks pretty good. I'm excited to go out and put this thing on a tree. So yeah, let's not talk any longer. I've rambled on too much as I do. Let's go put this thing on a tree and check it out. All right, so we got this thing on the tree. It's got about a 6.5-foot strap that comes with it. One thing I'll say about ratchet straps, cam buckle straps, all those, they take some use to get broken in. This one's new and very stiff. So definitely get out and use them and get them broken in. Once you get this thing on the tree though, again, we got a bubble level. You can go a little bit of side to side adjustment here, get you all leveled out right to left. And then as far as up and down goes, you're just gonna sit here and turn this knob, extend this out a little bit so we can kind of press down and take a little bit of pressure off this thing. And we'll get this thing leveled in. And your screw does tend to go in the tree some on these types of tree arms. So that's pretty close right there. So there you go. You can see out here. I would tighten these up. In fact, I may go get a wrench real quick and just kind of snug these down a little bit for my liking. And then we'll get a camera on here and we'll take a look at it and give you my thoughts. So Jeremy designed these bolts and nylon washers, so you can snug this up in their lock nuts. It takes a 9/16 wrench and 9/16 ratchet. And I like my arms so there's a little bit of friction here. Because I self-film, I've had it happen in the days where I had them too loose and you go and shoot a deer and the wind or something blows and your camera drifts off or something, and that's just never a fun feeling. So I like them a little bit on the snug side so there's a little bit of resistance. So I really like that a lot right there. All right, next up, I'm gonna get a head on here. We're gonna get a camera on this thing and take a look at it. Okay, here we got the little Ulanzi head on here. Man, this is just a good looking head on an arm like this. Again, small rigs got one like this, but I've got my old Canon, let's like I say, HV30 or some model like that, tape-based camera on here, but it's very similar in size and weight to the current Sony AX33s, AX43s, AX53s, AX100s, those types of cameras, and I mean, you could even go down some of the Canon VIXA line or what have you. So, you know, obviously this thing, you've got all the mobility, you know, you could want out here in this thing, the way it's going to swing around. As you can see, there is going to be a little bit of movement. You're going to have this on these lighter weight arms. They tend to, if you just go like that on a lighter weight arm, they go back and forth and there is a little bit of bounce. But if you are filming and you get things where you want and you get it stopped and get things framed up, you can shoot a deer, and again, you can see you're not bouncing. But any arm, even my heavier ones, if I do that with them, they're gonna move, okay? If I do that, they're going to move. So again, you gotta remember, I think, who this arm is for. It's for that lighter weight hunter or camera operator and hunter who again, I think like that Sony ZV-1 or you know, the smaller crop series Sony mirrorless cameras would be great on this. So I think, you know, that definitely is a great option. You got plenty of room here with this reach. If I was tree stand hunting, for me to go all the way around myself this way, okay, you could actually pass it between you and the tree if you're tree stand hunting. If you're saddle hunting, I would actually pull this over to my right side. Actually, I guess I could do that. If I was saddle hunting, I'd be mounted up right here, okay? And it's not too cumbersome and too long to get to my strong side shots. It can obviously pass by me. You can, a lot of times when I saddle hunt with the triple arm, I keep it kind of compressed like this, and I can come around. Okay, you got all the flexibility for your shots in any position here with this arm. So I'm really impressed with it overall. Let's push the limits of it and let's throw a big camera on this arm, and then we're going to show it compared to a fourth arrow. So you can see that performance-wise, I really feel like this is very comparable in a lot of ways. So hold on, I'm going to swap out. We're just going to throw the big camera on here and just see what it does, okay? All right, so as you can see now, we got my Sony A7S3 on here with my big Tamron 70 to 180 lens, okay? And so this is a lot more camera than this arm is designed for, but it's holding fine. That little Ulanzi fluid head holds great. I don't have a mic on it right now. This is really pushing the limits of this camera arm. Can it support it? Yes. Okay, is there going to get some bounce? Well, heck yes. This is, again, there's a lot of camera. This is not made for this camera right here. However, if you were careful and you set up, okay, here's my deer, you can get this so there's the bounce, what little bounce settles out real quick. So I would not be afraid to take this and hunt on a bigger camera. Now, I wouldn't want to throw an external monitor in a cage and all that. I would throw probably a little shotgun mic on it. This is about the limits of it, and even that, again, we pushed the design limits of this arm, but honestly, you could get away with some acceptable performance out of this. You're not going to get away with performance like you'd expect to see on TV or whatever, but if you were a guy who liked to run bigger cameras but just occasionally wanted a really lightweight arm setup, you can get by with this. Again, man, if I had this arm right here, I think those small mirrorless cameras, the small camcorders, your cell phones, this is a really slick setup right here. I really like it. I like how solid it is. Again, we're bouncing because I got a really big camera on here. So I'm just going to show it real quick for a comparison with the fourth arrow, just because that's a product that everybody's familiar with, or most are, and it gives you just a comparison. That's all. Okay, so hold on. All right, so here we go. We got the DJI Outdoors camera setup here, or arm setup here on the right, and well, my right, your left. And my fourth arrow, this is their micro triple arm. This is what I've been hunting with quite a bit, and I actually really like the setup. But you can see both the Ulanzi fluid heads on them. So we do have more reach, obviously, as we discussed, out of the DJI Outdoors one than we do the micro. If I had the full triple arm, obviously we'd be longer with this. You know, both are going to give you the reach to get around where you need to. When you start talking about bounce, you know, the fourth arrow isn't without its bounce, okay? Does it have less bounce than the DJI? Yes, but it's a different setup. It's meant for heavier cameras. I can't remember the weight rating on this setup, but it handles my big A7S3 and lenses, you know, just fine, you know. So, but it's not without its balance either, okay? Just mount this on here so you can see real quick, because we had it on this one earlier. But I mean, there's balance in this arm right here with this large heavy camera on here. So this is not a perfect arm by any means. And you know, when you start looking again on this JR Outdoors one, when you start looking at the weight, how compact everything is, the price point, how well it's built, I think that this is an excellent option out there for you. I mean, the fourth arrow setup's good. There's some other good ones out there that are nice as well, but you know, it depends on what you need and what your camera gear is. You know, everybody's needs are different, and honestly, I don't marry all into one camera setup or a camera arm setup. I mean, I run different, multiple tripods, multiple different arms. I've got one of the old big muddy, the obnoxious muddy arm setups, and that thing is built like a tank, feels like a tank, but it's solid as heck, and it's got its time and place. My fourth arrow setups have a time and place, and I really think this JR Outdoors has a time and place even for a guy you know, like myself, who runs some bigger gear. There's not to say that I won't run some lightweight gear every once in a while as well. So man, I think this is a great setup. So real quick, we're going to take this off and we'll do a quick wrap up and call it good. Okay, so we got this thing broken back down into its basic components here. So what are my final thoughts on this? Well, I think you know, after, if you've you know, stuck with me long enough through this video, I think this is an excellent camera arm for the money. I really love how compact it is when you get that down. Look at that form factor. Look how thin that thing is. I like it. I really like this 3D printed base that spring loaded and spins around. I think for the price point, I really don't think you can go wrong. I think the only way you can go wrong with this product is if you're a guy that runs heavy camera equipment and expects a solid support on that heavy gear. But if you're a guy that hunts and films with lighter equipment, like so many now are moving to, and that's awesome. You know, these small mirrorless cameras, the small camcorders, you know, even your cell phone. I mean, these guys are turning out some great video in that. I would not be able to steer you away from this product. I think this is an amazing product. And again, even if you got heavy gear, if you're careful, you can make it work. Yeah, for sure, man. You know, great dude, Jeremy is. I was on a podcast with him recently and enjoyed the hour and a half or so that we spent together. You know, these are made in Michigan, all made right here in the USA. The guy's a machinist. He does it all himself. Takes a lot of pride in it. So for $200, I mean, heck, you know, if you're needing a camera arm for this coming fall, this is the way to go. So check him out on social media. His Facebook page is Jeremy Riggins Outdoors. He's got a YouTube channel, Jeremy Riggins Outdoors. Puts out some really cool content, doing a lot with vlogs, or I mean, a podcast basically in a video format. So check him out on social media and all that. So yeah, so I think, as usual, I've been long-winded, too long as it goes, but I nerd out on this stuff. I love filming hunts and love camera gear. So, all right, cool. So please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on this video. It means the world to me. It really helps in the YouTube algorithms. As always, stay safe. God bless. Turkey seasons are right around the corner, thank goodness. As always, it's a new day in the outdoors.